would you look at that? Looks like members of the U.S. Armed Forces did in fact need to be reminded not to follow illegal orders, because they've been doing it this whole time. What a coincidence that this administration would be so upset that former service members would warn current ones not to follow illegal orders. It's almost like they were admitting to giving illegal orders the whole time. And we're talking from the very top, obviously. But it's important to note that everyone in this chain of command that followed this illegal order and passed it along and acted accordingly is liable. Hey, it's almost like those quote-unquote seditious Democrats were looking out for you just as much as any victims of your crimes. So apparently, these very obviously illegal boat strikes that we have known were illegal since the very beginning were actually even more illegal than we first realized. And I'm not talking U.S. illegal. I'm talking international illegal. War crimes illegal. Geneva Convention illegal. Because apparently Pete Hegseth, yeah, that Fox News fucko, gave the order on the very first of these boat strikes, which, reminder, are against individuals from a country that we are not at war with, who are alleged to be smuggling substances, which is not a capital crime, and have had zero due process or proof brought against them. In fact, it was recently revealed that this assumption that they were smugglers in the first place relied heavily on Trump's own assertion. Would love to know when the guy who can't remember his own pardon suddenly became psychic. But again, even if he were psychic, the punishment for that is not death. But I digress. Hegseth reportedly ordered to, quote, kill them all, which resulted in a situation where, following the first strike destroying the boat, 2 survivors were left floating and clinging to debris in the ocean. Now, the Geneva Convention and rules of engagement would say that once rendered completely defenseless, these were no longer legitimate targets. Once again, assuming that they were ever legitimate targets, which they were not. Admiral Frank M. Mitch Bradley apparently told the SEAL Team 6 group that were running this operation that those 2 survivors were legitimate targets that they should again strike. Why? Because they might call in for help. It's not entirely clear how they might have done that while floating on debris, but maybe they have some of those Trump psychic powers too. But also, calling for rescue? Not illegal. Funny how when Trump released the drone video of said attack, he neglected to include that last bit of it. And this whole time, they have been hiding this second part to the attack. You do realize that just following orders is famously not an excuse, right? But I'm sure you were just being forgetful. Thank God for the Democrats that made a video to remind you.